Welcome to the Sunday morning simulcast with Rom Wills. You have to dig within to heal emotionally. So check it out. This is a serious conversation because most of us have a lot of emotional pain. We have emotional pain from traumas big and small. And these traumas can affect us in so many ways. I mean, these traumas can create whole personalities because of how we responded to the traumas. It could be anything. It could be it could be not getting enough attention from our mother as we were babies, or not being breastfed long enough, or put in a position where we have to choose between two parents who are separating or divorcing, or having parents that really control you, or parents, the feeling of rejection by your opposite sex parent. I mean, there's so many little things or stuff that happens, being bullied, being lost somewhere, unfortunately being molested. There's so many things, and we go, we can have the physical thing happen to us, and we can heal physically, but that emotional trauma is tough. Yeah, the scars aren't there anymore, the bruises aren't there, but that emotional trauma stay with people for life. And it affects everything. The main thing is it affects our outlook on life, and it could cause a lot of problems. It could cause a lot of problems, a lot of pain that manifests physically. That's how deep it is. In order to heal that, you got to dig within. You got to dig within. When you see yourself responding a certain way to certain stimuli, outside stimuli, it might not be what that outside stimuli is presenting to you. It might be something inside of you that reminds your body subconsciously, reminds your spirit subconsciously of what might have happened to you when you were 5. That's why a lot of times people can be triggered by something. They can be triggered by a word, somebody's behavior, even somebody's appearance, because it reminds them of that. But see, one of the things is, we often forget, especially if it was some trauma when we were a child, we put it to the side, we forget it, we try to get around it. And then sometimes that's why even there are actually therapists, psychologists who actually might hypnotize their patients to try to remember exactly what happened. Because when we have that trauma, well, what are we trying to do? We trying to deal with it. We trying to get past it. So we we might, our minds, to protect our spirits, might distort what actually happened, or try to forget it, try to slam it down. And there's so many of us like that. We go through some stuff. That's why, when we going through something, sometimes we do need to go to that therapist. Sometimes we need to talk to that spiritual leader. Sometimes we do need to maybe talk to family. We need to do something because it affects us. And I mean, honestly, sometimes the trauma could come from somebody who we love. See, and it could be somebody who's treating you well. And even during that situation where it was trauma, it might have been something that they did, but they didn't do it out of a sense of malice or anything. It's just how you responded to it. And that's what happens. And so, whatever the case, in order to heal yourself, to truly heal yourself, you got to dig deep. You got to dig deep. That's why you can have somebody who can help you, a therapist, spiritual person, a very good friend, a wise elder. And even with all of that, you're going to need to really sit down and first realize there's an issue. That's the first thing. There's an issue. Now, I've dealt with a lot of spiritual leaders and stuff of that mode. Never really been in therapy personally, but I've dealt with some spiritual people that have taught me how to look at myself and really sit down, and something happened and my reaction is stop and say, well, wait a minute, why am I reacting this way? Like even being inspired to do this particular podcast, somebody did something which was really very benign. It wasn't anything they were trying to do mean, but when it happened, I noticed I had a certain reaction to it, and I was like, well, wait a minute, hold up, this person is being very kind. They're not doing anything wrong. But then I sat down and said, oh, wait a minute, this is going back to something that happened ages ago and then kept building on it. See, the one thing about a trauma or a negative event, what tends to happen is once it happened at one time, you all of a sudden subconsciously become very sensitive to it. So anything similar to it, it actually adds to it. It actually piles on some pain. And it could get to the point to even where you forgot, like I said, you forgot it happened. Even when you digging, you might get back to, the trauma could have happened to you when you were 7, but you can get back to something that happened at 17, but you still got to dig deeper as best as possible. As best as possible. When you're a child or something, you really, honestly, you really can't. You really can't on your own. That's when you definitely need a professional. But whatever the case, you got to dig deep within emotionally. Because I would strongly argue that a lot of physical pain and what people go through anguish is really the fire is coming from the emotional pain. So a lot of times our bodies reflect what's going on inside of us, the stress inside of us. And I'm aware of some holistic healers and holistic disciplines where they can actually look at you and how you move and how your body is shaped and get an idea what's going on with you. Now, that was more in indigenous cultures. Of course, we live in the modern world now, so it's not the same thing. But whatever the case, it's still that emotional pain that must be healed. And the thing is, we need to dig deep within to really heal it. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. And we might not totally heal it in a lifetime, but the mere process of just working on it is healing. You might not be able to heal the original pain or even find the original pain. But if you constantly dig within yourself and constantly confront what's happening, you can be a whole lot better. Mental health is everything. Mental health is everything. So this is just a word of advice. And, we all doing it. We all doing it. I've had to do it. I'm still doing it. So dig deep within to heal emotionally. I want everybody to think on that. Keep rising and transforming. Peace.